Hello, hello, hello. This is Deanna, traveling frugalista, and I'm here with my girl T. Michelle, the travel sister. We're here to bring you another episode of the African Tea. This one's gonna be a little bit hot because it's all about things you might want to consider when dating here on the continent. So let's just dive right on in. Today I am sipping on water because I needed something to cool me off after this discussion. What about you, girl? What you sipping on?
Today I got some peppermint mint tea from Tanzania and it is quite tasty.
All right, now, I'm gonna sip my water because some of the things I see make me say, like Patrice say, I'm gonna sip my water and mind my business. But today I'm gonna give a little info before I mind my business. So, as most people who know me know, I'm actually married to a continental African. It's been 5 long years. Woo-hoo. Actually going on 6 now. Think about it. Soon to be 6. And the one thing I can say, and I would say this is probably the most important thing for me, and that is really taking the time to get to know you, your strengths and weaknesses. And most importantly, hone your intuition. Because, baby, people don't like to talk about this, but the way folks here will lie and scheme and scam, I never watched 90 Day Fiance, but I didn't heard folks talk about it. And the reality is that people can try to sugarcoat things if they want to, but a lot of people are out here trying to scheme and scam, and they will tell you any and everything. They'll tell you any and everything. Their mama will tell you any and everything. Their grandpa, and even their bald-headed grandma. Everybody will be in cahoots on scheming and scamming you because they see you as grade A USA beef. So again, all I can say is, most importantly, know your strengths and your weaknesses. Because if you don't recognize your weaknesses, other people will, and they can use that to try and snag you and hone that intuition. Because baby, that intuition gonna be your gift to let you know, beep, 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 something ain't right. And for me, I don't question my intuition today. When I moved here, if I was dating, because when I first moved here, I was a butterfly having me a good time, real good time. But the moment anything didn't feel right, silence. Radio silence, keep it moving. What say you, Michelle? What you think is something folks need to look out for?
Yes, I agree with you 100%. So I would add that people need to know their boundaries. And I mean, I think that kind of piggies back onto what you said that, dating here on the continent can be different because, there are a lot of cultural differences. One of which is that families and friends are a lot more involved in dating relationships. So, I mean, it's not going to be uncommon, for people to bring you around, friends and family a lot quicker than what, men would typically do in the US. There are certain cultural standards that, are going to be expected of you, when you meet these friends and family and all of that. And so you just really have to know your boundaries because some things you might be fine with and some things you might not be fine with. And if it's something that, you don't like or you don't agree with, then you need to know your boundaries and be able to speak up for yourself. You just don't have to do everything just because, it's here in Africa or because somebody tells you that is the right thing to do. What you got next?
Woo-hoo. Girl, you just said a mouthful with that. And that's very true about the families. When my husband and I got married, I kid you not, I actually had to have 2 Americans sign as my family witnesses because for them, you marry as like families, not the individuals. So, and one had to be a male. My uncle, I never forget, my friend Rodney was my uncle because he had to approve the blending. Okay, they are serious about this whole shit of families, and you ain't said when it comes to having some boundaries. I agree 100%. Well, for me, the second thing I ask people to do, and it's something that before I got off social media, I was seeing a lot, and I think it's still the case. Sisters, y'all have to stop putting all your business on social media. Stop talking about how all these black men in the U.S., all black Americans don't do that. Or I want a man that's going to do this. I want a man who do that. Because let me tell you, these schemy, scamming mofos, they go to a school. Girl, some of these folks got PhDs on how to hustle people with money in the Americas and in Europe. Like they literally sit around and they learn this stuff. They sit there and they honor that you talking about, oh, she want a man who can cook. Okay, let me act like I can cook. She want a man who gonna do this and call her queen. She want a man who do. They're taking notes. They taking notes to scheme and scam you. So you need to say, if you start meeting somebody who coming in with just everything you say you want, you gotta start let the eyebrows raise a little, get your ears pointed like the werewolf and stuff, and be like, wait, is he sincere or has he been scouting? Because you gotta watch him. PhDs. That's all I'm gonna say. PhDs. What you say, girl?
You're right about that. And I mean, that brings me to my next thing is that you need to be aware of men who are always wanting you to spend your money. I think that most men here are typically raised to be providers. And, that's expected. African women are expecting them to provide. They're not expecting to come out of their pockets, and you need to have the same expectations. If you meet a man and he's always wanting you to spend your money, honey, you better run because something is not right in the water with that because it's just not. That's just not the cultural norm here. And that's somebody who is basically trying to get over on you. Like the whole concept of like going 50-50, and you having to spend money on a date, that's just for most men, particularly most men who are professional doing well for themselves, that's almost an insult for you, for them, for you to expect to you have to come out your pocket and pay something. It's just not. I've been on some amazing dates, didn't pay a dime and wasn't expected to pay a dime. And that's what you need to be looking for. What you got next?
I agree and disagree with that one. I agree that it is most definitely the most like the cultural norm. Like my husband, to this day, he laughed because when our first encounter, I won't say date. When we first met, it was not for dating purposes, right? But I could tell he was interested in me. So for me, I let it be known up front that you know how I am. So I was like, look, I have princess syndrome. I don't ever plan on working a day in my life, and I don't plan on moving back to the United States. So if you think that's what you want to do, you might as well, save your time because I'm not the one. And I remember him looking at me because you know how Aziz is. He just gonna look like, is she serious? And he was just like, okay, like that's the norms. Like what else would you expect? And that's when I had to laugh with you saying it because that was exactly his take. Like for him, that's just normal. That's what husbands are supposed to do. Husbands are supposed to be providers. At least that's the case in Cameroon because he's from Cameroon. And I would say that's generally the case in West Central Africa. It is a little different down here in Southern Africa. I will say that. I have definitely seen that the dating dynamics here can be more similar to that in the U.S. And I also say that for me, some of this has to do with what people want. There are some women who are actually okay with that. So to me, my belief is always, it goes back to learning yourself, your strengths and your weaknesses. Because if you're a woman who's okay with taking your man out, who am I to say it's a problem? But that's just me. And that goes into my number 3, which is keep your same dating standards. If you're like me and you have princess syndrome, I tell people, don't call me queen because queens work too hard. I don't want to work hard in my life. I had children very early and I was working hard. I'm over that life. I want to be a princess. Princess get taken care of by her. Call me Princess Deanna. That's me. At the same time, if you are Boss Barbara and you want a partner who you can emulate and be like, I day. I said jump. And I day jump, that's okay too. But the most important thing is keep your same standards. Don't come here and think that you're going to meet somebody who was raised very traditional and wants to be in their household, and then you talk crazy to him, mistreat him, and he's okay with it while you're dating. You know, he going along with it because he like, yeah, I like all the things she's doing for me. She's leveling me up. And then you get married and you still try that, and then you be surprised because then he flip out and he turn into somebody else. So the most important thing is keep your standards. If you want a man with money or a man who takes care of you, don't change when you come here because you're setting yourself up for a recipe for disaster. But that's just me. What say you?
Girl, that's the truth. I mean, people need to be who they are and what they want. And if you weren't doing that in the US or elsewhere, don't do it here on the continent. So I would say my next thing would be that you have to recognize that, marriage here on the continent generally is very different. People see marriage as a sign of pride, um, and a sign of maturity for men. And so people generally, I think, here tend to marry young. So you're going to find that most people you meet, like if you come into the continent as a woman, in her 30s or 40s, that, chances are a lot of the men that you're going to meet are going to already be married. Um, and so that will be a bit smaller pool for you to date from. So you really are going to have to decide, do you want the young, broke tender, or do you want the older man, who may be a widow, or, who may have never married, but who is also working a lot and busy a lot. I mean, that you just are going to find that a lot. And so you have to decide what you want and choose from it.
That's true. That's very true. You Because some of these things here make you be like, you know, I don't seem to settle down with older men. But I always tell people, broaden your horizons. What's wrong with looking at that man that's 50, 60? I've always preferred men who are a little older. So maybe you should consider it if that's your thing. If not, you want that young tender, just know he might be broke. And that's okay too. Now I'm moving to my last thing, which for me is the most important thing. And I know a lot of folks don't want to hear this. I know. But it got to be said. This is definitely high on my list after your intuition part. And that has to do with do some self-reflection and be honest with self. I know this is hard for us, women over 40 and stuff like that, right? But if you ain't been pulling GQ models, chocolate Adonis in your last 10, 15 years, what make you think you moving to the continent and you gonna be pulling all these young chocolate Adonis with six pack, body glisten, they making their pecs boom, 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 just because? Like, what has changed about you so much that when you step foot on the continent, whether it's for travel and or on social media, when they slipping into your DM, etc., what is it about you that's so different that's making these young chocolate diners like you on the continent? You gotta ask yourself this question. Now, if you've been pulling that when you was home in the last, 5, 10 years, I can say you ain't got to question it as much. But if you always wanted that, but you never got it, you got to wonder: is it because he's looking at you as grade A? What? USA beef? Because that's really what it's boiling down to. I probably shouldn't get y'all this tea, but I am because every once in a while I can't help myself but just put it out there. It was this young here from my husband's community, right? Nice looking boy. I mean, not my type because he's too thin, but if you like the chocolate Adonis type, he was that. And he knew it. He knew it. And like I said, going to these schools to learn how to play Americans and Westerners. So he had a cute chocolate girl. Real pretty, Can you go? They both athletic, fit, looking like models. But see, she was doing her own thing too, because she was already married to a Canadian. So you see, it worked both ways though. It's not just the men. Put that out there. Then little secret things start going around because people know I must tell the business. I'm always about protecting other women. That's me. So if I see something that ain't right, I'm gonna be like, you might want to watch yourself. Now you can choose to listen to me or not, but I'm at least give you some type of warning. So I think people know this. So I started noticing that the cute girl wasn't, little chocolate built girl wasn't coming around. I would ask questions. Everybody wanted to be silent. My husband, he's in Cameroon, and he ain't trying to get into the tea like me sometimes. I understand. That's why I'm here for though. And I kept asking. I don't see her. But when I tell you this girl she was so kind. She was leveling him up. He was like one step above being homeless when she met him. Moved him up, moved him to a new place. When she would travel for business, she was buying him groceries, y'all. Buying him groceries, doing everything. Because she was like, okay, we both got what's going on. Meanwhile, when he realized she was already married, he realized he couldn't get what he wanted from her. So what was he still doing? Back online, trying to find him another one. And that's what he did. So now he's always been with these nice fit. Now he done went him and got him. She's cute. Don't get me wrong. The girl is cute. But physically very, very different to the norm of what he had been eating. Next thing you know, everybody in the community, he's this, singing his praises, knowing that boy ain't got nothing, knowing he's trifling, knowing he online doing whatever. So all I'm gonna say, she thinking she got a winner because he's a Adonis, and I'm like, boo, you wasn't pulling this at home. Why you ain't questioning why he's so lovey-dovey with you all of a sudden? So all I can say is, sisters, please be honest with yourself. You have to question these things. Now, if you are okay with taking care, like T. Michelle said, that young tender, because that's what you want, I'm with that too, because I want you to be happy. But if you thinking that you're getting somebody who wants you because of you and not because you're grade A USE beef, you got to ask yourself, why are you attracting all these Adonis? What say you, T. Michelle?
Ooh, girl, that's a good one. So I would say my next one is beware of the cheating or polygamous men, uh, because like I said, that people tend to marry young here, and so a lot of the men that you meet are going to be married. Some of them are honest about it, some of them are not, and will lead you on. So you most definitely need to keep your eyes open. There also, are a lot of people here on the continent who are polygamous. And again, some will be honest about it and tell you, hey, I'm looking for a second wife. Some of them will hide it. So once again, keep your eyes open, and you have to decide whether or not you would ever be interested in a polygamous situation, and you need to have those discussions early and often just to kind of see where their head is at. Because if there's somebody is saying, well, yeah, I'm open to polygamy, or yeah, I want to have a polygamous situation, or I feel like that's my right, as a Muslim man or as an African man. If that's not something that you're comfortable with, then you need to cut that off and keep it moving, because I assure you they are not going to change. So I think that's it.
Girl, you ain't said but that because I remember you actually do have to sign if your marriage is polygamous or not, right? And it's actually one of the brothers here. Girl, they got down to the place to get married. And it's like they hadn't had this conversation. So when you get up there, they're gonna ask you, they be like, so, Madame Diana, what type of marriage are you signing for today? Polygamous or monogamous? And they will explain the two to you, right? And you have to give your opinion, and they write it down. Girl, I kid you not, to this day, these folks ain't married because when they got up there, the girl was like monogamous, and the guy was like polygamous. And they went back and forth. And now the ambassador was like, did you not discuss this? So you absolutely right. And I think sometimes these people don't. They just assume that you should know because they Muslim that that's a possibility. So definitely be like Deanna, be vocal. Look, I'm cool with polygamy if you's a rich man and I'm gonna be wife number 4, number 5, something like that. But like I told my husband, your pockets ain't big enough for me to be a polygamous wife number 4 or 5, so I need to be the only one. And you gotta be that way. Well, that's the end of our segment on things you should look out for or do when looking to date on the continent. We are definitely gonna touch on this topic again in the future because we couldn't touch on everything. And I also think we're going to bring up this whole notion of polygamy on African continent too, because I think in the diaspora, people seem to have you thinking that having multiple partners is the same as polygamy, and it's not. You can get honest people who let you know I'm looking for wife 2, 3, 4, whatever, or you can just get trifling folks who just like to have community, what, and it's a difference. So join us on the next session of the African Tea. Remember, like, subscribe, and share, even if you didn't like it, because we'd like to hear everybody's views and opinions. See you on the next session of the African Tea.
Bye.